Hello, everyone. My name is Jeannine Yoder. If you don't know who I am, I'm the founder of Mentor Masterclass and the creator of JeannineYoder.com. And today, I'm so excited to be hanging out with Sora and bringing her magic to you. We're going to be talking about how do you lead powerful events and what is the power of circle like, and Sora's really going to be sharing her genius of just the way that she creates circles around the world and how you can really do that if you're thinking about leading a retreat or planning events, or if you just want to learn how do you hold space for women in circle. So let me read you Sora. Sora, I should let you say hi so they can see you because I think it just shows me.
Hello, everyone. It's lovely to be here.
And for everyone who's watching this live streaming, let me initiate the chat. So if you have questions that come up while you're watching, you can type them into the chat box. And even if you're in the video with us live here and you have a question that comes up, you can write it in that chat box so that while Sora is talking, we'll see those and save those and make sure to get all of them in. So if you don't know Sora, Sora is a transformative business coach, intuitive, mentor, international retreat leader, inspirational speaker, fire igniter, heart whisperer, nomadic entrepreneur, world traveler, my sister and really good friend, and a lover of love. And she is the creator of the Intuitive Soul and Business Mapping session and the Magic of Circle training course, and holder of worldwide Radiant Women Circles intensives. Sora blends formal education and real-world experiences with mystical transformation, ritualistic practices, inner reflection, and deepening community to help passionate entrepreneurs integrate feminine energy into their business so they can lead a life that is wild, calm, and free. So Sora, I think what would be amazing to start is just asking you, how did you get involved with circles? You know, what was like your first circle, or when did you experience the magic and decide that you wanted to be a creator and a leader of that magic?
Such a good question. Yes. So when I looked back, I realized that I had started Circle quite a long time ago. Probably when I was at the age of 3, when I took all of my animals and I placed them in Circle, and I started talking to them and teaching them as if I was the teacher. And then I had a real big obsession about being a librarian and giving out books and things as well. And then we would chat about it in Circle with me and my friends back in elementary school. So I would say that was the first initiation of Circle. And then afterwards, back in high school, I was part of a program where we did everything in a community in Circle. We had no desks or chairs, and we wrote on walls, and it was quite a beautiful experience in learning how to tap into what it is that we wanted and really expressing from that desire into co-creating something as a group in school. So that's how it happened, really. And then my soul got called to Australia, and I started my first women's circle. And that was about 2 years back.
What was it about women's circles that inspired you to then begin taking those around the world and having that kind of be your life? I mean, it really is a huge part of your life.
Yeah, it's a huge part of my life. It's a deep commitment for me. And it started because it was through my intuition and then through the community of women in Circle that helped me heal. And so I had an experience a couple years ago, about 5, 6 years ago, where I was attacked and almost kidnapped. And it was by a group of men, and I survived it. And the reason I survived it was, one, I was able to really tap into my intuition and listen to her. And then I was able to heal my story around it and move through my fears and learn by having sisters who supported me, not telling me what to do, but hold space and allow me to figure out what needed to be done in order for me to move on. And so because of that, I then decided it was a true commitment and a passion and mission of mine to start doing circles and teach other women how to use the principles of Circle in anything and everything they do.
That makes so much sense to me. I've heard you tell that story, one-on-one to me before, but after that was before having had you witnessed you lead circle at my live retreat this year and see
Mm.
firsthand. And it was kind of cool because I was involved but also watching you lead. So it was a really beautiful perspective because I wasn't fully immersed or lost in the beautiful things that happen in a circle, but I was able to kind of witness your genius. Um, and that makes sense with your story because you really bring some specific things to your method and your way of leading in circle. And I'm just curious if you can share a little bit about that powerful circle method that you use and why it's invaluable for both you as the leader and the attendees or the women that are in the circle.
Absolutely. So the way in which I see circle is that, yes, I'm the facilitator, I'm the one holding the space, but I'm not the one necessarily teaching you anything that you don't know. Instead, it's me helping you remind yourself through your inner workings and your dialogue with your soul to understand your past experiences and remember your tools and your ways of being and bringing it to the present moment. And so that's why I find it so invaluable. So in anything that you do, including a workshop or an event, there is one way in philosophy of you teach at a group and you do some exercises, but you're really the one who is leading that in a sense of providing all of the information up front. And the way I do it is I actually step back, I give some exercises, and I allow the women or men, because I've done it with men too, interact with one another and weave through their own dances and energies and conversations together to come to a finding, an outcome, an answer, and then we reflect back and talk about it. And so then after that might give a teachable tool or moment, but it's usually after they've already immersed themselves in their community and their exercises together.
Mm. What do you think makes that so powerful, the way that you create that space that way?
It's feminine. So I believe that we need to tap into your masculine and feminine energy, and you are able to live a vibrant life if you can sway between the two. But the feminine approach of being able to weave, play, explore, interact, understand each other's feelings, listen, mindfully hold intentions, that is the place where magic occurs. And you need that in the container of a masculine energy, which is one that holds it, holds that boundary so that it's a safe space. But that's why I think it's successful. It's because it's a feminine approach.
Mm, that makes sense. So, Sarah, what do you want? How would you speak to the women? I know a lot of the women in Mentor Masterclass are wanting to lead retreats someday and learn how to hold space like this in a circle and bring that feminine and masculine energy in that perfect flow. So, what would you say to them if they're looking to lead a deep, impactful, transformational retreat? What advice would you give them to step into that powerful role as the leader and cultivator of those circles?
Yeah, I know that even when I first started, I had a deep, deep yearning and craving to do retreats and hold workshops. And a part of me always thought, well, I can't do it yet. I need this, this, and this. There's no way that I can possibly have anyone show up to anything I have to do now. And so I think the first important thing is to change the mindset around not what if and when and how, but around yes. Yes, I'm going to do this, and this is what it's going to look like, and then just begin. And the way in which you might begin, and the way in which I began was I put it out there, and I let go of any expectation as to how many people showed up, and I made it a smaller workshop with the vision for it to grow into a retreat. And so in my workshop, 3 hours, and I called in, I said, if possible, 5. Maybe 7, and 2 showed up the first time. And you know what? It was a great lesson for me that even if it was only 2 women, the 2 women actually got lost. It took them about an hour and a half to get to where I was. They could have said, forget it, I'm not coming, but they felt called to be there, and it was the most amazing, unique experience I ever had because they were committed and I was committed. And it gave me the opportunity as I played with this to explore what does it look like and how do I use my voice to figure out why this is my kind of workshop and retreat. How is Sora going to lead this? And so I would say for anyone who feels called that you schedule in 1 month's time one workshop, even if it was an hour, even if it's at your place or a friend's place or a yoga studio, and just begin to be committed into experiencing what it would look like and feel like.
Mm. And, how do you get your inspiration for what you bring to that first one? If you've never led before and you're not quite certain what your voice or presence is going to be like in a circle, where do you even pull the resources that you're going to bring to start teaching?
Yeah. So a couple things. One is definitely being guided. So your women have this unique, beautiful experience of having their sisters in their group as well as you to help guide them and support them and ask some of the questions. The other way is to ask yourself, if I had a group of dear sisters in front of me, based on hearing some of their concerns or challenges, what is it that I can bring to the table and an experience I can have with them that'll help them feel empowered or rejuvenated or nourished? And so coming up with a word and a feeling first as to how you wish the event or workshop to feel like will help guide you into what that next step is. And then, of course, having other support systems like mentors or a group or a program that helps you lead you through what that practice looks like is also valuable.
Mm. So it sounds like you're just kind of starting with feeling into the challenges that are present for the women that you're leading the circle with, or what their desires are to feel, and then you're sort of bringing yourself and your resources from your experiences, your education, your mentors to the table, and kind of playing with that voice and how it feels and sounds and reflects and bounces off of that circle.
Absolutely. And to know that there's never a failure, there's only learnings. And it's through the learnings are you going to be able to get better and better and more confident around speaking in public and gathering people and holding space.
Mm. Every time you say holding space, I think of the conversation we had with Brent in the car. Yeah. I tried to explain to him
Yeah.
space means. I think everyone here knows what holding space means. So, Sora, I constantly see you hosting sister circles in so many magical places around the world. Why do you feel being location independent is a powerful plus as an entrepreneur? And let's just start by describing what being location independent actually really is.
Absolutely. So when I first started my business, I was very clear that I wanted to be location independent. And so for me, my meaning around that is that I could potentially have a home, but that I can choose anytime I want to be anywhere. And so that provided me the sense of freedom and to be free to explore and be who I am with whatever location and setting and with the different types of women and people that I come across. And so that's why I now travel around the world and do women's circles, because I'm such a big believer for me that my mission is to grow a large global tribe and to do it in a way where I'm not only a face and a person online, but there's this direct energy exchange that happens when I'm in person with people. And it gives the opportunity for our souls to interact and communicate because I come from a place of intuition. And so if I can gather women who feel called and have no idea why, then they're already playing in that field of intuition, and then I can then continue to help support them in their vision. And so that's why I do it. And a part of it is it was called for me to do so. In meditation, in dreams, I was just constantly told that I needed to travel and do women's circles. And in the beginning, I had no idea what that meant or how I was going to do it, but I just continued to have faith and trust that it'll all work itself out.
So, Sora, if people are not experiencing having those moments of feeling called towards something, where would you start with just being able to be in tune with that? Because I think that is such a powerful reflection, and I'm at that space now where most of my work revolves around calling in and trusting. And I love what you said about having that space and why you are location free and how that works with your circles, because there's a power that lies in that, but it's hard to move past all of the way that we want to be logical about things, and we want to plan and articulate and trust that our growth is going to happen because we want it this way. So how do you get to a space of recognizing your power to call in things, and then just also hearing what you're called to do beyond the logic or your brain
Yeah.
getting involved too much.
Totally. So I know that I have certain practices, but I think it's a unique experience for each individual. So I'm not about cookie cutter approaches or these are the 10 steps, but instead what I would say is coming to a place of stillness. And that could be through meditation, that could be through yoga, but it could actually be by running or having a moment where you're dancing your ass off for 2 minutes and then you're still for a moment. Or maybe it's actually coloring and coloring mandalas or going to a children's bookstore and getting coloring pages and you color and you take a moment just to focus your attention on the present moment and then give yourself that space and time to then dig deeper in. And then the next thing I would do is I actually focus my intention not up here. I drop down. I physically inside me drop down into what I call your womb space. So your second chakra. And then I just begin to interact with her and listen. And I see what kind of emotions come up. And then it's like being an investigator. You notice an emotion and then you either act or don't act upon it. And then you see what happens. And then from that, as you take notice, you'll begin to notice when something's coming out of a place of logic or fear or a place of intuition and excitement, because fear and excitement play in the same arena together. So those are the areas. And then the last thing I would do is sharing with my sisters, right? So you and I are sisters and we talk about this, and I don't know how many times I've gotten on the phone where I'm crazy and unsure and I talk it through you and you support and you just hold that for me and I can then figure out the answers. And so it's having a group of women who truly understand your vision and can see you for your highest light and allow you the space to come to places of insecurity, but then also pull yourself out to a place of real confidence about what your next steps are.
Mm. I love what you share about the womb space, and I like to just add something to that in that,
Yes.
I mean, when we think about the fact that when we're looking for inspiration or just a way of connecting with that, you know, we all have those moments in our life where we sense a higher vibration or things just seem like they're going right or ideas are flowing with ease or just synchronicities happen that feel too coincidental to not be divinely orchestrated.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think about when you say womb space, and literally as women, we're so lucky. Sorry, men. They have other pluses that we don't
They
have.
do.
About our womb space, and it's literally a space where we create a human life inside of our body that comes from somewhere, this soul that comes in through that space. So we have that in us all the times, the ability to just go to this literal universal portal that brings in and births human life is sitting there. So it's so powerful. It feels to just be able to tune in and see what inspiration is happening down there, what insights do I have, what truth can be found in that amazing gift that we have in our female bodies.
Absolutely. And to know that it's sacred and it's a place of celebration. And many times when we aren't centered around her, when we don't give her that love, there's a lot of other areas that are feeling as if it's not flowing. And so it's really important to just honor her, really be in tune with her, and allow her to then be able to breathe this life that is so wanting to be called. And that doesn't have to be just the life of a human being, but our projects and our passions and our career.
So I just somehow on my computer clicked out of the video, and now I can't get back to it. Emmerich asked a question over here. Let me figure out how I can still talk to you without seeing you. Let's see if this question applies.
I don't see the questions in the group. Oh, Q&A.
The Q&A is not
Oh.
is not activated for some reason. I'm not so good with tech, so if anyone knows how to activate the Q&A, you can let me know. But on the event page, I can actually see some questions. And we have one from Emmerich, and he says, is there a chance to ask Sora's feelings about men creating women's circle, because he's a man and he loves to work with women and he wants to create circles, so he imagines some women may also wonder that as well. So yeah, your feelings about how a man can create that space for a woman's circle.
Absolutely. Firstly, Amrik, hello, nice to meet you. Um, yes, and it's interesting that you asked that question, Amrik, because I too have played and thought about the question regarding, as a female, how can I hold space for men in circle? And so I would say 100% yes, you can. And it's around what your intention is and how do you find the opportunity to be really honest with your circle around what it is that you're leading them through. And then with always tapping into the place of your desire result is coming from a place of a heart-centered place and through love. And if you show up in that arena through that emotion, your women are going to immediately feel it, and they'll be ready and feel safe to be open enough to explore with you whatever it is that you wish. I can go a little bit deeper into it, but I need to know exactly what your intention and focus is on when you create these workshops and events for women. But absolutely 100% you can do so. And I would eagerly encourage you to do so, because there is a need for more men to come up and really show women that they are here in partnership with us. So go for it.
Awesome. So I'm still trying to figure out how to get back. I have a new computer and I can't get back to our Hangout.
Oh no! Is it like on the bottom somewhere?
Mac. I'm on a Mac, and then I clicked on a little pop-up that came, and then I don't know how to find the other, like, because it was in a different window. It's not really showing up anywhere. Yes, please help.
If you take your mouse up to the top right corner, will it give you like a little, show you two arrows in the top right corner? Like, I think you opened a whole nother window.
I actually went, like, you know, when your Mac pops up a little thing, a little slider thing, it was Emmerich's question, and I clicked on that, and I had another window open, but now I don't see two arrows, because it was in a completely different window altogether.
Okay, so it won't pop up something up in the upper right when you sort of just touch your mouse up to the top right corner?
Do you mean like if I enlarge this one? Let's see.
You know how sometimes if you press like F3, you have all screens that pop onto your screen? Can you do that? And then see if you can...
There you are! Yes! Yay! Thank you. Team effort.
I don't even think I'm that computer savvy, but I'm glad I could help. I was having such anxiety over how to even get onto Google Plus for the Hangout. So.
Great. So I'm glad Emmerich caused all that havoc so he could get his.
Yes.
I'll go back to that in a few minutes and look for questions, though, guys. So if you want to just leave them in, now that I know how to stay on this window, if you want to add them into the chat, I'll go back with Sora and look at those if we have some time at the end. Okay, Sora. So what I wanted to ask you, and was there any follow-up that I could add to what we just talked about? I got a little bit sidetracked looking for the window.
No. The only thing I was saying was I could help answer Emmerich's question a little bit more if he gave a little more detailed information and some other point. I'd be more than happy to chat with him about it. But no.
Great. So
go on to your next question.
Great. Emmerich, if you want to type some of that in our chat on the Hangout page, then Sora can also look at that later and connect with you in some way. Okay, Sora, so I'm curious if you were to share just one key element with the men and women here about creating a signature retreat, what would you want them to know, or what would you share with them?
Yes. So there was not one, but I would say the first one.
You get more than one, but
I didn't know how much of a stickler you are. But I would say the key really is to begin. To begin in your local area. Find a location and put it on the calendar. Look into your budget. Maybe it's only donation based, but just start and gather some friends if you have a small tribe at the beginning, or ask. I think it's so wonderful if you're really passionate about starting to begin just letting people know, hey, I really want to do a workshop and this is what I think it might look like, because you'll never know who knows who and the connections you can make that allow this opportunity to begin to unfold. So I would say magic first and then action steps next, and then it'll co-create itself with you part of it.
Beautiful. It's so funny that that's just the hardest part, right? Moving past your nerves
Yeah.
and starting. I'm so lucky to have had you at my very first retreat with me. I was, with that, I was surprised to see that all the feelings that I had leading up to leading it, once I got in it, I really grounded into my power and just had fun being there. It was way less stressful being in the moment than it was those days and months leading up to it. So I do see the power in just getting started and just really dropping in and seeing and learning from the experience first.
Yeah, and I would say that I witnessed you beautifully going from a place of feeling a little anxious around it the day before, because I was with you for about a day or two before the retreat.
Right.
And then when the women showed up, the reason which it switched was because you stopped thinking about what was to come, and instead you focused on every single woman who showed up.
Yeah.
And so you were there for them. And once that happens, everything divinely works itself out.
Mm. Beautiful. So, Sora, I have another question from you from Elizabeth Piper in the group, which I think is a good one. And she's curious about, actually, I'm going to come back to that in a second because I think that this one would be valuable to ask first. How do you balance making money with your live events with inspiring people? You know, what is the tip that you have around your passion for just being in these circles and giving them, and then actually being able to make a living and a lifestyle, you know, and survival from these retreats?
Absolutely, for sure. So in the beginning, when I first thought about the fact that I was going to create my business specifically around traveling and doing women's circles, I had a lot of interesting feedback around, well, how are you going to make any money and how are you going to travel and do this? And yes, it's true, right? Like, honestly, it takes a lot to travel and do this. But a couple things came up. One, I knew that it would work. Like, I hands down 100% knew that it would work itself out. And then the other thing was I asked the support of people in different locations to help me find the best location for a circle. So it came to a point where in the beginning they were at beautiful people's homes that they just share their home with me even though they didn't even really know who I was. Or they would find a location that was free or donation based. And then women started coming and supporting that vision for me. And the other thing that I did was I tried to see what other skills I had and passions that I had, which had to do with some of my coaching. And so I was able to go back and forth between my circles and in the beginning knowing that it was a bit of an investment, let's say, and then also really curating this experience with my personal one-on-one clients so that I was able to have multiple ways of bringing in income. So sometimes my circles went really, really well. And sometimes it was my clients that grew. And so I was able to play with my amounts of money that were coming in and then strategically place them where I thought they needed to go. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I want to just touch on for a moment, and your video went away. I don't know if was that just because of service or just so you know, your picture.
Oh. Is it on now?
Nope.
No?
But it's okay. We can still hear you. It might just be a internet thing.
Okay.
So, there you're back.
Okay.
What I was thinking when you were saying that is I think this comes up a lot when you and I are just in our own sister circle of the money aspect, and something that's amazing to watch is you going from a space of where are these women going to come from? How am I going to find these women for the circles? From that self-doubt to that place of, oh my God, there's 20 people coming this week, and it's so funny because even though you learn that lesson every time, I still watch you go through it even now. Like once you already even know that cycle or pattern that you have, I'm just wondering if there's anything you want to say about your experience with that, and when the women are wondering, like, how am I going to get these people there, and is it worth doing if I think no one's going to come?
Yeah, it's true. I do this almost every month, right, Jay? Like almost every month. I don't know why I choose to do this, but every month I schedule a circle, and I schedule in the most random, well, not random, but like
Feels
Italy.
random to me.
It seems kind of random. Like
Our
I was
question whenever we have circle with Sora is, where are you? Our circles, meaning we have sister circles over the phone every Tuesday at 4 p.m. just to come in and support each other, a small group of us. And every time we start, we're like, Sora, where are you in the world this week?
Yeah, and I choose to do it in Europe, and I was in Tuscany, and then London, and Cambridge, and now I'm doing in San Francisco. And so I feel called to do it in all these different locations. And yes, ladies, like every single time I go through the same fear. I put it out there, and then I think no one's going to show up. No one's going to want what I have to give. And then I have to really drop back into my magic and my powers of manifestation, as well as then really doing the work. There's specific things I know, and the tools that I use I know that will help bring in the women. And it's also about the relationships that I cultivate in those different locations to help me and to allow them to see the importance and ask them for those specifics, like, can you please do X, Y, and Z for me to bring in and call in these women. But I think for me, it's this lesson every single month of learning how to trust and have faith that everything will work itself out, do it, enjoy it, and then go through the process again, so I can continue letting all of you know in my new tribe that it's part of the process, that this emotional, slightly roller coaster happens, but at the end of the day, it's such a gem to see what comes out of it.
Mm. And going back to what you said earlier about the importance of sharing those things with your own sisters or your community or your brothers.
Yeah.
Because now when you come back with those patterns, I think I was probably nervous the first time you came to Circle and like, oh, I don't know, let's work through this. And now I can be like, Sora, how many people did you have? How many people did you want at your last Circle? Do you remember being afraid that no one would come? How many people showed up? And you're like, okay.
It's so true. And that's the power of community, whether it's sisterhood or brotherhood or a community of both. Like, that's what keeps us in check. And that's the most fabulous part, where instead of just being like, they're there, instead you're like, listen, this is what happened last time. This is what's going to happen now. A little smack, and you're fine. But you can't see that growth, and you can't see those patterns the way that you now know my patterns so well, unless we are together and we share and we're open and honest with one another.
I caught a little gem in there that I think is really important, because I think this is something you're such a beautiful creator of, and that's building relationships. You're building relationships around the world. I'm just curious, how do you maintain those relationships, and how do you, build them in a way that they are supporting your dream of creating these circles and having that support? Is there any advice you would give to people for building and maintaining relationships?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm an introvert, which means that I actually don't like being out there in front of lots of people at large parties. I can do it, I can be social, but it takes a lot of energy out of me. But what I really do enjoy are those one-on-one conversations. And so social media has actually been quite beautiful for me in me growing my business, because I get to have those one-on-one short post conversations with different people. And that's grown into now Instagram and Twitter and Pinterest, even, in regards to people just saying, hey, that's a cool picture, and me responding. And then I usually say, let's connect. I want to hear what you're doing. And it comes from an actual natural place of not wanting them as a client, but really intrigued in what they're doing, what they need, and how do they build their community. And because I have that interest, it comes from almost like a sociology background where I just want to know what's going on with different people in different parts of the world. It allows me that place of having connections. So even when I build out my calendar for the week, I have time slots where I know I'm going to be using to just get on the phone and create a new friendship. And so once that happens, we have this regular way of communicating with one another, either via email or through social media. And then I just kind of remember that they're in a location. So when I have something that I'm doing, I share with them saying, can you come as a guest? And if you can't, do you know anyone who might feel called to come to what it is that I'm bringing to the table? And usually 100% of the time, not even, okay, maybe not 100%, 9% of the time, the people that I've connected with have no problem saying, yes, of course, what can I do for you? And that's because I do the same. I show up, and when I used to live abroad, my couch, and I had a separate bedroom, it was always open for random strangers to come. And I'm always out there to support them. Yes. Right now I'm nomadic, I have no home, but before I did, and I think karmically it's helped me out because I see the beauty in asking and then receiving. And I've learned this year a huge gift about what it means to receive from others.
Yeah, I've watched you really own that and step into it. And we've been talking about this a lot lately, where when I think about one of the top tools and internal shifts that you can make to be a successful entrepreneur, I really think like top of your list needs to be learning to ask for help and having that be like, I am a professional help asker and giver. And they Absolutely. Do go in balance hand in hand, but it's really funny how that those parts of ourselves of asking for help come up, or when we have a program or a circle that we want to do, that resistance to telling our friends about it or asking people to share it, or just asking for support and filling it. And that's the difference, being able to ask and having a circle or a retreat that people show up to, and then forcing yourself to do it on your own and just pushing through the masculine way, and then wondering why no one's coming through the door.
Absolutely. And then there's a little magic part of that as well, which is you can ask, but it's also around how you ask. That's Oliver out there if you hear a dog right now.
He's asking for help. He wants a phone.
He's currently asking for help. So the ask, sometimes I know I've come from a place of an ask that has a strategic ask. It's very logical, and there's reasons behind it.
Right.
But those typically don't work out very well. But where I come to a place of success is when I think about exactly why am I asking it, what specifics do I have, and what is my bigger vision as to why. And that comes from a place of deep emotion and a place of really wanting to serve. And when I feel incredibly grateful, even before I ask that specific person, and I use all of that energy to then either write the email or have that conversation, that's when the magic occurs. That's when people feel the authenticity towards the ask and then want to actually help you. And then coming from an open-hearted space of thank you, I will receive anything and everything you have to give to me, is where that beautiful dynamic happens, and where so much opportunity and so much fruition comes about.
I think you can so feel that. I think if we're talking for people who are thinking about leading their first retreat or their first circle or workshop in person, it's important to note that you can tell the difference between receiving a blanket email that's being sent to 10 friends to ask you to help versus when I'm showing up and taking a moment to call you and saying, hey, Sora, I'm doing something really big, and I'm leading this retreat, and I'm nervous about it, but I think it's going to be amazing. I'm doing it because I'm passionate about these women, and I really want to help them, and these are the problems that they're having, and do you know anyone that could benefit from this, or can you help me share and get the word out about that? I feel like it would be so impossible to say no or to not connect heart to heart when I just allow myself to come from that space versus like, oh, I'm stressed, I don't know how I'm going to get people here, let me like type up this quick email and make it sound really good and then BCC 20 of my friends and then wonder why was that not effective. And there's just, it feels like you're letting down a wall as well. feels like you're being a little more vulnerable to say, no, I'm really in this and I'm really willing to ask for help. And I think we hide behind like those emails sometimes when really what we're looking for is right on the other side of just releasing that wall a little bit and tuning into our heart and connecting with people for support.
Totally. And that is the power of community. And community is dynamic. So there needs to be that give and take through your heart versus through your mental space. And so if that's what we're here to do, then that's how we need to show up as well. And so it's been a great learning experience to go back and forth between the two and realize what really works. And that's from a heart-centered place.
And speaking of which, that's really my intention behind this call today, because I reached out to you in my first retreat and said, hey, this is what I'm doing. I think having a piece of you there would be amazing for these women. And then I got to witness you leading in Circle, and having known you for a few years now, really getting to know your work, and then really growing at not only an appreciation that you were so generous to come be a part of my retreat experience, but also really getting to see the other side of my friend, like the leader and the amazing curator that you are in these circles. And the power that happened in the circle was just so beautiful. I maybe because I'm also so partial to my Mentor Masterclass women who were there, but it was so amazing to see them so heart open, so in sync with each other and in tune, and really working through some difficult things and really celebrating some beautiful moments. And I just have such an appreciation for the way that you lead and such a desire to learn more about how you do that. And I know that you've created an actual program for that, which I am head over heels excited for. And I just think the world has been waiting to learn, and I think you're the perfect person to facilitate that. So it's called The Magic of Circle, and I would love to just hear what is this program, and if people are really wanting to drop in more and really learn how to lead circles, can you tell us a little bit about how you're facilitating teaching that?
Absolutely, and thank you so much. Oh my goodness, and it was such a beautiful gift to be able to watch you at the retreat leading, and I think that has to do with collaboration, and so that's part of what the Magic of Circle is about. So since I've done these 3-day intensives for women around how to lead circles and holding space, what I realized though is that there is so many entrepreneurs out there, thought leaders, light workers, people who are already connecting with their community online and possibly offline, but that there's the way in which you can use Circle to make a really powerful impact with your community in person. And so my vision with the Magic of Circle is to learn the properties and the tools around holding space, all the different fun ways in which you can engage people, but then also tailor it so that based on what it is that you're doing, how can we as a community support you and your vision? And so from day one, we start scheduling in your first workshop, and it's this beautiful support system where the expectation is that you're doing more than one workshop. Maybe you're doing possibly one workshop or event each month, and we're jamming over what that looks like and how you can grow that and make that bigger, as well as your experience around it and your confidence. So it's everywhere from the magic aspects of here's our different rituals and ceremonies, songs and movement and poems that you can use, but then also the business aspect of how do you actually create it? What does your budget look like? How do you offer your market? How do you market it to your ideal clients? And so we're weaving both, again, the masculine, feminine into the Magic of Circle in that way. And so I'm really excited about the program and it being 6 months long so we can see the growth in every single person that is with me in this journey.
I just sent out the link to everyone too on the page and in the chat so that they can look at it for further details. So basically it's a 6-month program, and then there's also, is there an in-person part, or is that Costa Rica tricks something different?
Yeah, so the way in which it works, it's 6 months and you get a one-on-one call with me, which will be fabulous. I know I'm going to want more. A group call with an expert, and then also small calls with small groups so that you're helping each other be very accountable with this program. And then I'm really excited because at the end of that journey, you're invited to come to a retreat. And it's in Costa Rica. And there's a facilitating training that's gifted to you. It's part of the program. It's an extra bonus. So all you have to do is kind of get yourself there and purchase the accommodations. And then we play. You get to see from beginning to end the back end of how to hold a retreat and what setup occurs. Go through the actual circle and the exercise and events that you do at the retreat and the integration process afterwards. So I thought, for me, experience and hands-on experiences is what really inspires me and fuels me to go forth, and that's what I want to do for the women that are in this program as well.
So in the 6 months, you're gonna be holding them accountable to dropping in and actually creating their first event, and then at the end, they actually get to attend a retreat in Costa Rica with you, and I'll be there too.
Yes! Yay! Surprise!
And they get to experience and hear the back end side. So instead of just kind of I feel like that's so valuable. I remember when I was planning a wedding, it was like the most valuable thing was going to weddings and then seeing, like, what do I like, what's working, how would I do this differently? And I learned so much how to do my wedding from doing that. And the same thing with my retreat. It was so great to have a few retreats before to kind of compare, like, oh, I never would have thought to do that, or I would definitely never do that at my retreat. That's not my style. But you're actually going to be able to not just have them be in their own head around that, you're going to be giving them the behind the scenes sneak peek and details of how you actually do this.
Absolutely. So for me, and the way in which I've always done my business is around giving as much material as I possibly can, so everyone goes forth and creates their individual programs or ways of doing circle. So this is the same idea for me, to be able to be very transparent from beginning to end, and then have you experience it and learn from it. And then, yes, take what you need, and the things that you don't think you jive with, then you don't use. And I love having those kind of discussions.
So Sora, let me get this straight. In the 6 months, you're going to actually give them the resources of, like, what you say, the poems that you use, how you begin a circle, the questions that you ask?
Yes.
Willing to give all of those amazing secrets away?
Yes, because I want to see more circles around the world, and also to help with the connections that I have. So I'm here to help you, guide you through locations as well as your community, to help each other, support each other, and learn what it means to really ask for help and then receive.
Amazing. I love you so much. I'm so grateful that you're putting this program out into the world, and I'm so excited to get to be a little piece of it with you in Costa Rica.
I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun.
So I see a note here from Jacqueline Wallach, who's actually already signed up, and she's in the video below, and she says the program starts in T-minus 14 days.
Yay!
Is that what? So it starts in 14 days?
Yes, it starts September 22nd.
Awesome. How many women, or is this for women and men?
So, I mean, Emric had posted such an interesting question for me. I'm kind of in a conundrum. The retreat itself is for women specifically because it's also focused around sensuality and drumming and African dance and Mother Earth.
You're not talking out of Emric of wanting to come now.
I know, seriously. But the circle itself is not primarily around just magic that focuses on women. I had focused this one specifically with it being particularly women, so that we can guide them through all different types of areas, including sensuality. So yes, right now it's all women, but Emric, give me a call. Yes,
and I'm only open, Emric.
Exactly. And I'd like to cultivate a really tight group of women. So it's going to be a small group. I'm not here to make it massive. I'm here to really support and be there individually for each of my women as well collectively. So I want to be able to have that space.
Great. So what are you capping it at then? When does the program close? How many will you invite into this first one?
Yeah, so I'm inviting in 15 women. And only that much. 10 to 15 is where I like to play. And and I'll be capping it by September 20th is when the cart closes. So very, very soon.
Beautiful. Okay, Sora, anything else you think that we should know about the program or circle or any deadlines? I sent the link to you all in our Google group chat. I'll be sharing this video replay with you, and there'll be a link below, and there's a link in the chat. If you use that specific link to sign up, I'm also going to include a bonus for you guys.
Yay!
Laura is a bonus mentor for Mentor Masterclass, and she did an amazing 1-hour training on the specifics of your coaching business. One, she shares with us how she walks her talk in her own life, her favorite tools. She shares a conversation model that she uses in session with clients. And she uses she also shares her prospecting and marketing tips. And this video is part of a package that's sold on my website for $295, but you'll get it free if you use that link to join Sora's Circle program. And that's because I'm an affiliate for Sora, so it tracks you coming through me if this is where you heard about it first. Obviously, you can tell I'm sharing this because I'm a massive fan of her program. So I'm so excited for it to be full. So Sora, anything else that we should know about the program before I bring in a few of these other questions that we have lurking?
No, I would just say that if you have even an inkling of a desire to do this, to connect with me so we can chat about it, because I know that there are specific questions that might not fully get answered, and I just want you to be able to explore this with me and see how dedicated I am and why I do what I do and see the miracles that occur by having a circle.
So you'll actually get on the phone and you'll do a one-on-one conversation if anyone has any questions. So even if they're not certain they want to join, you would still want to talk to them and just...
Totally. Yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
Great. How do they do that? How do they set up that one-on-one time with you?
Yep, if they could just email me at info@sorasuryano.com. So my name is below, SORASURYANO. And just let me know that they'd like to have a conversation. We'll figure it out, and I'll send them a link so that they can schedule a call with me.
Awesome. And that chat needs to be scheduled by when? The cart closes on September 20th, so we
yes.
need to get
they
that
have 2 weeks to get that conversation in. So get it in ASAP.
But don't stall. I mean,
don't
tell her right now.
You know I'm all about intuition, so if you're getting a little feeling, then I say just take action now.
Beautiful. And anyways, you'd be lucky to just get on the phone with Sora, because I'm sure some kind of magic will happen in that conversation.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Okay, Sora, do we have time for maybe just a couple of questions? There are some.
Of course.
Okay.
Bring it on.
So, let's see. Elizabeth Piper would like to know, hi Elizabeth, it's so good to see you watching. How do you market your service for women's circles around the world? We kind of touched on this a little bit. I wonder if there's anything else you want to add.
Yeah, sure. So the other way in which I market is I typically, when I'm looking for location spaces, I try to find a location that will also help market. So either that they have a list and they have a website where they can put my information on, and also if they actually have some community members who would like to do an exchange, be an ambassador, come as a guest, and go and do kind of the footwork, or they might be a teacher themselves somewhere and they have a community in which they can gather some people. So those are some ways. I also sometimes gift women who bring 2 or 3 women to the training or to a circle, then I allow them to come as a guest. So there's so many ways in which you can do that to help market an event somewhere else. And then the other thing I do is sometimes I do paid ads, for example, on Facebook, but I know things change a lot of the times. So having someone who might be skilled around that and savvy helps, and then just social media itself really has helped my marketing, as well as, like I said, we talked about those one-on-one connections and getting on the phone or writing a personal email.
Amazing. Okay, and then we have Emmerich gave us a little bit of a follow-up story, so I'll read this just out loud with you, and then we'll see if there's anything to add to it. So he said, I'm not completely certain what I'd create, but I'm coaching and coming into contact with a lot of women who are working through some kind of abuse or insecurities that have come about from some past experience that they haven't been able to let go of or even voice. And I come from a place where I don't believe anyone needs to be fixed, but they do desire a place to be heard, to express themselves, and to let go of all the voices in their head and heart. There's
Absolutely. More. Yep.
Well, more. I'll let you tune into that. You can find it in the chat.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah.
So what I would say, okay, based on what I'm getting at from this, is that, Emmerich, you completely are in tune with what circle is. So knowing that in circle, it's not, when I do circle, I don't actually coach. Coaching and circle, completely different things. Circle is a safe container where you listen and someone gets to speak. And if they are asking for help, they specifically say, what do you think I would like to have your support around this? But if not, you don't coach. So you already have the principles down. So because of that, I would say if you're thinking about a place where people speak their truth, it's a safe haven, whether it's around abuse or personal experiences that have been very challenging or not, it's still a great playground for you. Coming to a place where knowing how to hold it so that it feels secure, knowing what happens and what you do when someone is going through a lot of those emotions. Typically, as a coach, we want to kind of dive in, and it's actually beneficial if you step back because you're holding more than that person. And so there are little tools like that energetically that comes into play that should be explored, that I would invite you to explore before you do it, if it's around something like abuse and something that's a little bit more heavier. Not that you can't do it, but just being aware about the energy of a circle and what that might look and feel like.
And Sora, do you teach those things in your 6-month circle program?
Yes, I do.
I'm telling you guys. Okay. So we have a question from Jackie, who's already enrolled in the program. She wants to know, what do you do if you want to create circles and workshops in non-English speaking countries?
I would say do it. Because I've done it. And I think it'd be great if you did a little market research though, because there are some countries where you can still find an expat community or a community where they're English speakers. And then there's certain countries that it's a little bit harder. So knowing that first and then building friendships with people that are in those locations help first. So the reason I can right now have conversations around Moscow or Berlin or have my second one in Athens in Greece is because I built friendships and relationships with people before I even asked them. And it was probably about a 6-month-year process where I cultivated a relationship because I really loved what they were doing before I had that ask.
That is massive. I just did a little video about this for an episode coming out, but that's beside the point. I don't know why I'm saying that. I think I'm just proud.
No, good job.
Thank you. But people skip that step. You go and ask for help before you've ever said hi or celebrated the person, or it's so valuable. I love that you said you spent 6 months building this relationship before you actually, asked for anything. And it's okay that you went in with that intention, knowing, hey, I love this person and what they do, and someday I'd like them to be a supporter of me. But you didn't go straight to them with that question. You went and built a relationship, and I'm sure you'll get so much more out of that now that they're actually a friend, that will carry on in your life experience than just someone that you utilized for a business resource.
Completely. Just a quick little story. There was a woman that she's a mentor and I love what she does. And we became friends. And for about a year, we just had conversations around what she does and what I do and how much I loved it. And then I had one in Athens, and she lives in Cambridge. And she flew down specifically for this 3-day and redid her schedule. And I didn't even ask her to come. She just saw my passion around it and was intrigued and felt called to. And then afterwards, she loved it so much that she was the one who asked me to come to Cambridge and London and set the whole thing up for me. And it was because she saw me in what I would say my brilliance and my gift, and in exchange she wanted to help. So it's always about that relationship.
Amazing, Sora. So I think that's all of our questions. If anyone has, I would love to just hear from a few of you who are here in video chat who might like to share just what's the most valuable takeaway that you are experiencing from this time with Sora. Does anyone want to share one with us?
I hope there's some valuable takeaways.
We'll just have to see if anyone's willing to unmute themselves and share.
Yes, exactly.
I find if we give it a moment of silence, someone will speak up. I feel like there's extra pressure on Carmen because she's the only one that's video is on.
Yes, thank you for that, by the way. I was like, how do I disappear and hide?
You cannot disappear.
Well, first of all, I just love watching both of you, 1,000,000%. But thank you for calling out that even as you've been here doing this a million times, you still have the pattern. I was like laughing at myself and how I have my own patterns and like, okay, it's fine. Even Sora like goes through it, whatever, it's cool. So thank you for sharing that and normalizing that a little bit too, you know, and seeing the way that Jeannine supports you, just like knock it off, right? Like it's gonna be okay. So that was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen, for coming out and telling us.
Yes.
It's so. Oh, you know what? Maybe I don't. It looks like Jackie and Casey say they can't hear Carmen, but we heard her. That's interesting. So I see that Michelle is listening live and Jackie and Casey are as well, but something about not having a mic. So if there's something that was valuable for you guys, can you type it in the chat box and I can read it out loud? I'm just curious what your biggest takeaways are so we can celebrate and affirm Sora for those.
Yay.
So Casey wrote giving first. Takeaway for her.
Yeah.
Jacqueline, are we able to hear you?
Coach Jay.
Hey, Jess. Hi.
Hi.
Yep,
Hi,
we can hear you.
Coach Jay.
Hi.
Hi, Sora.
Hi.
How are you?
It's so good.
hi.
Lovely to hear
my
your
biggest-
voice.
I know. Love to see you again.
Mhm.
Enjoy seeing you guys together. And my biggest takeaway was to begin, because that's been the new lesson for me, to just begin, put myself out there and be seen. So thank you for that. Hello.
Thank you, Jess. It's weird. There's like a little bit of an echo.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Jackie says giving first and dropping into womb space was her most valuable. And Casey says she loves seeing us together, Sora.
Oh, yes. Oh, and just so that everyone knows that men and women have womb space. It's not just women. So women can have the
Talk about that.
So women can have like the physical womb space, but men have the
men
second.
create the sperm, so they gotta have some power.
Men have super creation power as well, and they have their second chakra. It just feels and looks different, and so just to acknowledge that.
It's very different. Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it from that way, our womb space is activated by their creation space and those together. So it's really beautiful to think about that. Yeah, now we're all.
That'd be a whole new conference call, a new Google Hangout just around that.
A whole other discussion we could have. Okay, we have a few more. So Michelle says she loves that you just did it. She says it's gutsy and she appreciates that and it's motivating for her.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, just do it.
And then Jackie says, oh, also the best way to ask people to help. Does that make sense to you, Sora? Yeah. How to ask people for help.
Yeah.
And then Lindy says, hello, and she says, I loved the tips on soul-centered marketing. I loved hearing that we should just start, jump into. I have too much background noise to talk, she says. So thank you so much. And she said, oh, men, womb space, that's so great. Thank you for the fabulous energy.
Thank you, Lindy. This has been so much fun.
And then Emmerich has, my takeaway is just plunge in, go right into it, and say yes, even if you think you aren't ready.
Awesome. And yes, I know you were feeling a little left out, Emmerich. You have womb space too.
Emmerich is so funny. He's been on my conference. Whenever I do these, he's on them often for about like a year and a half now, and I just love it. It's so funny. Emmerich said, thank God, because he was feeling left out. And Sophie says, amazing that you actually do this all around the world. And she says, always welcome to Sweden.
Sophie, let's connect.
And then Iris says, learning her most valuable things, learning the gift of asking and receiving, dropping into womb space, just begin.
Yeah.
Awesome. Lots of beautiful takeaways.
And just know that sometimes the thought of taking action in the beginning feels so fearful, but as soon as you do and you step into it, it's easier. It's easier. It just is. And yes, you will have those fears and roller coasters, but you won't know what happens and what gifts actually occur if you don't step in and say yes. So.
This is one of my favorite things. I tackle it all the time in my life. A quote that I think you guys have probably heard me say so many times is, the greater the risk, the greater the achievement. And I always focus on that when I'm really scared of something. And it's almost become a game of like, how do I manage those moments of my life and working through that risk factor that feels so scary and terrifying. So I love jamming on this. You guys can reach out to me anytime. Email me when you're going through that period, or just find me on social media or tweet me. I really love, tweet wouldn't be enough space to have conversations, and don't tweet me about that. Facebook me or email me. But I really love supporting that, and I think having like a sister circle, if you guys can create that in your life. Those of you in Mentor Masterclass have it already, but if you don't, really creating that space to bring those fears to, because it feels so good to just say it out loud and to get that smack down from your good friends.
Yes, and to know whatever you want to create, even if it feels weird or people say, I don't know why you're doing it, if it feels right to you, there's a reason, and so just do it. And then also be open to flexibility. So one of my first women's circles, it was actually not all women, and I'm like, go for it, let's do this. So just being really flexible about what you think it's going to look like, throwing that out the window, and just being and allowing whatever is supposed to happen, and enjoy the ride.
Sora, I would love to know, how many circles do you think you've done since you've dug into this overall?
Oh my goodness, I have no idea. There's circles and there's circle trainings, and I think altogether, probably a little over 30.
Wow.
In the past year and a half.
Wow, that's amazing. How many countries do you think you've traveled to? What if we did countries and states?
Well, I've been to Australia, and I've been to Europe, the U.S. and Canada, and Central America.
Amazing. So everyone, check out Sora's program. And just send her love and support, even if it's not the right time for you to join. Just send her lots of love and support that this fills up for her, and any love that you want to share. And keep us both posted if you are leading retreats. We'd love to hear about it and support it, and you as well.
Yep.
Sora, anything else you want to tell them before we close out our call today?
Oh, no, just that I have loved this. It has great energy, and I just have enjoyed both of you. Thank you, Jay, and then also everyone who showed up in physical form, typing it in, live, not live, and I can feel the love and support from you all, and I am in deep gratitude, so thank you. You really made my Tuesday, and probably the rest of my week, because I'll be on this amazing, loving high for the rest of the week.
Yeah, thank you, sisters and brothers, for showing up today and for engaging in this conversation. And thanks for your inquiry and your willingness to do this work in the world and to be traveling traveling the road less traveled. And being willing to just be brave and courageous and step through that resistance. And I think overall it seemed like one of the biggest themes today was just getting started and asking for help and giving help. So what an amazing thing for us to take on as a community and celebrate together. So until next time, I get to see all your beautiful faces. Thanks for hanging out with us, and look forward to hearing from you all as you put those ideas into creation.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, girls.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.